Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are counting down the top 10 worst Pokemon releases in the anime, and actually there wasn't as many as I thought, so this list is basically every release we've seen except from the really unimportant ones. So I hope you guys enjoy and be sure to let me know your worst release. Number 10 is Ash's Larvitar, kind of. So before you all start angrily typing Larvitar wasn't Ash's Pokemon, there wasn't really another Pokemon that could have took this spot. Sure, I could have thrown a random Raticate that Ash owned for 2 minutes, but this one was a bit more earned, as it spent the whole arc with Ash bonding and getting to know this baby Larvitar, only to see it reunited with its mother. The arc was really good, it made for some great episodes, and Ash was really the only one who got close enough to Larvitar to make it open up. He was a good influence on it and helped it. So it was really sad to leave it behind. Although it's not an official release, it's made the list because of the moments that we had with it. And if Ash did keep it for himself, that would have made for some team. Number 9 is Brock's Vulpix. You probably didn't expect to see this one, but I always really liked Brock's Vulpix. Obviously it was a show of his connection with Susie, the Pokemon breeder who gave it to him, and probably the female he was the closest with. It was weird seeing Brock have a fire type when we were so used to him having rough rock types, but it was a nice change of pace. And although Vulpix barely did anything in the original series, it had a lot of potential. It could have been a decent Pokemon for him and maybe even evolve one day. It also was just the perfect Pokemon for a Pokemon breeder to own, being raised by two of the best breeders in the world. So it was a shame Brock had to give it back to Susie in the end, but I guess it made sense. Coming in number 8 is Ash's Naganadel. This one is another one which makes sense why Ash no longer has it, but I always felt it had way more potential. He firstly released it as a Poipole, which would disappoint him because he could have just kept it around, trained it up some more until it eventually evolved. But instead they got rid of it for a while and then brought it back as a Naganadel. I would have preferred if he kept it the first time and then the second time it goes it wouldn't have been as bad. The release itself wasn't that bad because it makes sense that it's an Ultra Beast, it's not really of this world and it's needed amongst its own kind. But I felt it could have been done a lot better. Number 7 is Ash's Greninja. You're probably all wondering why Greninja is so low on the list. I know a lot of people have a problem with the way it ended its story in XY. The episode itself has a lot of issues. The reason for Greninja leaving makes no sense at all. On a story level it's just a complete mess. But on the other hand I completely understand why they had to get rid of it. It was one of Ash's strongest ever Pokemon. Having it just sit at Oak's lab wouldn't really have done it justice. And there would always be the looming question of why doesn't Ash just call his Greninja back to win this battle? And that's a problem for a series. I mean, people still say that to this day. But having it tied down, doing something else in Kalos kind of makes sense, but they could have just made up something so much better than what they did. So overall, the release itself makes complete sense. I wasn't really mad about it, but the story should have been done a lot better. Number 6 is Ash's Primeape. Primeape above Greninja? No way. Well, Primeape was caught early on in Ash's Kanto journey, at a time where he hadn't been catching many Pokemon. He was getting told by Oak, you need to capture more Pokemon. Gary had about 40 Pokemon and Ash has like 6. You need to capture some more if you want to compete with him. So Ash had this one episode where he was determined and he ended up getting this super powerful Primeape, only to not even use it and release it 3 episodes later. It was a good Pokemon as well. It had a really cool personality, it was aggressive, but in the end it came to respect Ash, and it would have made for such a cool addition to his team. But he did nothing with it. It always annoyed me, and some people say it's in training and not officially released. We haven't seen it since episode 29, which is over 20 years ago, so it's pretty safe to assume that it's never coming back. It's not the biggest deal in the world because we barely knew it, but it's frustrating that it could have been one of Ash's strongest Pokemon on his Kanto team, but instead it's training with some random Pokemon boxing guy. Number 5 is Ash's Pidgeot. Ash's first ever regional bird. Despite Pidgeot not really doing that much throughout the original series, I still see it as an iconic Pokemon. But it was caught in episode 3 and early on it played a big role in his team, before he caught the starters. It was a shame that it didn't get much time to shine, but when it did I enjoyed the episodes. The annoying thing is, just when it evolved it got released, for a very strange reason, to protect some fellow Pidgeotto in the forest. It just made no sense. It could have been a great addition to Ash's Orange Islands team, and Pidgeot could have been looked back on with more fondness if it stayed, whereas people now just kind of forget about it. He's had a lot better birds since, so Pidgeot is kind of irrelevant, and it's a shame because it was his first ever regional bird, and of course he promised to go back for it, which he never did, which always annoys me. Coming in number 4 is Ash's Goodra. So this Pokemon came and went so quick. There was a massive chunk of time between Ash's captures in X and Y, so we were waiting for this next one, and then he got Goomy, which was awesome. It quickly evolved all the way up into Goodra, and everyone loved it. But then not long after, it stayed behind in its homeland with its friends, and it was a bit disappointing as we hadn't had it on Ash's team for that long. After having an epic battle with Clemon, it just leaves. It was such a shame. I know Greninja is the real powerhouse of Ash's team, but Goodra was an incredible Pokemon and I loved its personality. I would have liked to have seen it a lot more. And then it returns for the Kalos League, barely does anything and then just leaves again. It had way more potential than it was given, and like a lot of Pokemon on this list, it deserved better treatment. Number 3 is Ash's Butterfree. So this is actually the final of Ash's Pokemon on this list, and there's still 2 more Pokemon left. So firstly, Bye Bye Butterfree is a fantastic episode, and it's a really emotional moment. Ash letting his first ever captured Pokemon leave because it's in love with another Butterfree. It was sweet. There's nothing against this episode because I love it. It's against the decision to actually let Butterfree leave so early on into Ash's journey. Just episode 21 into the series. It didn't even get to win a battle. I'm not even sure it got an official battle either. Something I've always said is it would have been way more impactful if Ash kept Butterfree all the way through the Kanto region and the league and got some important wins. And then at the end of the series, instead of letting Pidgeot leave, you placed the Bye Bye Butterfree episode here instead. Same situation, same release, it would have just made things so much better. The pacing would have worked better. People say Bye Bye Butterfree is one of the most emotional episodes of Pokemon, and yeah, I agree. I think how much more emotional it would have been if we got the whole of Kanto with this Pokemon and then had to say goodbye at the end. It would have hit harder, and it was a massively missed opportunity. Coming in number 2 is Dawn's Ambipom. So this is probably number 1 in most people's eyes. It was a really bad decision from the writers. Personally, it doesn't bother me as much as it does everybody else. I never really cared that much for Ambipom, but I can understand why this one is so frustrating to most people, and that's why it's made here at number 2. So there was so much build up for this Pokemon. It got caught by Ash in the Battle Frontier. We could see quite early on it liked flashy things, and you could tell they had some sort of plan with it. And then it follows Ash to Sinnoh, gets a few decent gym battles, but as soon as Weasel comes into play, you can see that these Pokemon are both with the wrong trainer. The trade made perfect sense. I loved it. We've never seen anything like it before. Apom was more interested in contest, while Weasel wanted to battle. And then under Dawn it evolved into Ambipom, gets some decent achievements in contest, and then it got put to the side for Dawn's other Pokemon. I think the writers were unsure what to do with Dawn. Her team was always weird to me. They didn't seem to have a plan with her. I loved her getting a Togekiss, but it seems like a last minute thing, and unfortunately for Apom it was the one that suffered. As for the ping pong episode, I know everyone hates it, but I actually really like this episode. It's a cool concept with Pokemon playing ping pong, so I can't hate on the actual episode itself, but I agree it was a silly decision to make Ambipom go off and play ping pong with a stranger. This is similar to the Primeape release, but much worse, as we'd had more development and setup for Ambipom. So overall, this was just bad. Like I said, it would probably be number 1 on most of your lists, but I wasn't that big a fan of Ambipom anyway, so I wanted to put a Pokemon I liked more above it. So coming in number 1 is Misty's Togetic. So Misty returns for the Advanced Generation series, and we are all excited once again to see our original Pokegirl. So to start off, she's not even here to see Ash, but she's actually here for a Togepi festival thing. She ends up getting kidnapped by Team Rocket straight away and sent to the Mirage Kingdom on some wacky adventure. But I don't really want to talk about the plot of these episodes too much. They're fine as they are, but I don't get why they made the decision to firstly have Togepi evolve, and secondly have it stay there to guard over the other Togepi. It was weird to say the least, and you can see it's made it all the way to number 1 on my list because it's an iconic partner to Misty. She's always holding it. And you might ask, why is this number 1 over certain of Ash's Pokemon like Greninja for example? Well, to me this is similar to Ash and Pikachu. These two belong together. They tried to replace it with Azumarill, but it just wasn't the same. It should have been with Misty this whole time, not defending a kingdom in the middle of nowhere that no one cares about. It would have been awesome to see it alongside her when she came back in Sun and Moon. So this release was really disappointing for me. It made no sense. Although we haven't seen much of Misty since, she's still always going to return with Brock as they are the original. But something's missing without her Togepi. So that was my top 10 worst Pokemon releases. There wasn't many more that could have been included. Ash's Lapras was an option, but I don't think that was really a bad release. But let me know what is the worst release in your opinion in the anime. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.